Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So I have received homework. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Guruvani Pucharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Haribol. Okay, I've received homework from Advitya Prabhu. Let's see what he says. It says, what is the greatest danger or fear at the time of death? So Advitya says, losing all your wealth, losing all your sense gratification. People are afraid at the time of death because of taking birth again, because of all the sinful activities they did. What is the greatest benediction at the time of death? And he says, the greatest benediction at the time of death is that you were in the service of Krishna your whole life, you'll go back to Godhead. That's pretty good, Advitya. Simple, but pretty good. So the greatest danger, you say, is people are afraid at the time of death because of taking birth, again, because of all the sinful activities they did. Okay, well, your answer is very close to the proper answer, so very good. And then I received from Samart, and he says, what is the greatest danger or fear at the time of death? Answer. The most dangerous type of fear is not getting a human birth in the next life. In Bhagavad Gita 2.40, Krishna says, in this endeavor there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. This means that even if one does some Krishna conscious activity, knowingly or unknowingly, one will be saved from the greatest fear of life, which is not getting a human birth. If we lose the human form of life, there's no chance of going back to Godhead in the next life. Right? In material activities, without 100% completion, there's no success, whereas work in Krishna consciousness has no loss, even if it is incomplete. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, 1% done in Krishna consciousness bears permanent results, so that the next beginning is from the point of 2%. Whereas in material activity, without 100% success, there's no profit. This shows that material activities end with the present life. For example, Bill Gates worked hard to make a $1 trillion company in his life. That does not mean that in his next life he will start with a $1 trillion company. However, if you make even a little bit of progress in Krishna consciousness in the next life, you are sure to have a human birth in a great cultured Brahmana family or a rich aristocratic family. That will give you a chance to progress in Krishna consciousness. For example, Ajamila, even though he committed sins by marrying a prostitute and leaving his wife, children, and parents, he was saved due to naming his son Narayana and calling his name without any material motive. Srila Prabhupada says, Ajamila performed his duty in some percentage of Krishna consciousness, but the result he enjoyed at the end was 100% by the grace of the Lord. In other words, he did not die. He was supposed to die, but he did not die, and he had a second chance to purify himself. Therefore, if even a slight therefore, if Krishna consciousness is practiced, even slightly, it can save you from the greatest dangers. The greatest danger is taking birth in animal as an animal or an insect or something in the next life. So Srila Prabhupada says, so why not take to this Narayana consciousness or Krishna consciousness always, 24 hours? Then there's no question of danger. Next, what is the greatest benediction? When one is associated with devotees, one is inspired to name their children after the name of the Lord. This is the case of Ajamila, because he was a devotee when he was young, and although he fell down, he named his son Narayana. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, certainly this was due to good counsel given from within by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivisto, matak smritir jnanam apuhanam cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. The Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart, is so kind that if one has ever rendered service to him, the Lord never forgets him. This means that the Lord gives us the chance, when we do devotional service, to remember Krishna. And Ajamila had this opportunity and named his son Narayana. Whenever Ajamila called the name of his son, he got purified, and at this time of death, he called him and he got saved. Very good, Samart. Very good. Thank you. And we got homework from Agastya Prabhu. Okay. And Agastya Prabhu writes, what is the greatest danger or fear at the time of death? And what is the greatest benediction at the time of death? Bhagavad Gita 2:13 says, as the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. So according to this verse, the real danger of death is not death itself, but something else. In Bhagavad Gita 8:6, it says, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. This is both a benediction and danger, because if you think of something like a pig at the time of death, that is what you will become in the next life. On the other hand, if you think of Krishna, you can go back to Godhead. This can be taken as both a blessing and a curse, depending on your mindset and how much you think of Krishna. Okay, very good, Agastya. Very, very good. Okay, I didn't receive any other homework, so now we'll proceed to read Canto 6, Chapter 2, and we're on verse 34. And it says, Ajamila continued, I am a shameless cheater who has killed his Brahminical culture. Indeed, I am sin personified. Where am I in comparison to all the auspicious chanting of the holy name of Lord Narayana? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Those engaged in broadcasting the holy name of Narayana, Krishna, through the Krishna consciousness movement should always consider that what our position was before we came and what it is now. We had fallen into abominable lives as meat eaters, drunkards, and woman hunters who performed all kinds of sinful activities. But now we have been given the opportunity to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Therefore, we should always appreciate this opportunity. By the grace of the Lord, we are opening many branches, and we should use this good fortune to chant the holy name of the Lord and serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly. We must be conscious of the difference between our present and past conditions and should always be very careful not to fall from the most exalted life. Okay, so see, that's extremely important because what we do during our life will be what is the main, let's say, focus of our life will be in our mind at the moment of death. So if the main focus is sense gratification, making money, having properties and ownership, and having friends, having different partners, having this, having that, well, all those things will be in our mind at the moment of death. But if our main concern throughout life was Krishna consciousness and serving Krishna and doing service on a regular basis and always praying to the Lord and depending on the mercy of the Lord and being obedient to our spiritual master and spiritual masters and things like that, then at the moment of death it's easy to remember Krishna because we've always depended on Krishna and always depended on the mercy of saintly devotees. So, therefore, Prabhupada says, those engaged in broadcasting the holy name of Narayana, Krishna, through the Krishna consciousness movement should always consider what our position was before we came and what it is now. Yes, that's exactly what Ajamil is doing. He says, I am a shameless cheater who has killed his Brahminical culture. Indeed, I am sin personified. Where am I in comparison to all the auspicious chanting of the holy name of Lord Narayana? So he's feeling very sorry for his deviation from Brahminical life to sinful life. And in the same way, Prabhupada is saying that devotees who are always chanting the name of Krishna, glorifying the Lord, they should always consider what their position was before they came to Krishna consciousness and what it is now that they have become Krishna conscious. And that's very important because you should never forget the mercy that has been shown, or we should never forget the mercy that has been shown to us by devotees and Srila Prabhupada and ultimately Krishna, and saved us from living a whole life of sense gratification and selfishness and so forth, and being able to engage in devotional service easily and make that our way of life. That's a very great benediction. Okay. So Prabhupada says, we must be conscious of the difference between our present and past conditions and should always be very careful not to fall from the most exalted life of Krishna consciousness. Right. So text number 35. Ajamila continues, I am such a sinful person, but since I have now gotten this opportunity to live longer, not be taken by the Yamadutas, has been given a second chance, I must completely control my mind, life, and senses, and always engage in devotional service so that I may not fall again into the deep darkness and ignorance of material life. And in the purport, Prabhupada says, every one of us should have this determination. We have been elevated to an exalted position by the mercy of Krishna and the spiritual master. And if we remember that this is a great opportunity and pray to Krishna that we will not fall again, our lives will be successful. Oh, this is a wonderful short purport. Everybody wants to be successful, right? So here's the formula. Pray to Krishna. Serve Krishna. Associate with good devotees. Accept a bona fide spiritual master. Only take prasadam. Go on Sankirtan. Preach. This should be our main interest in life. Just like everybody may have a hobby. So their work may be, like, for example, there are people who are computer guys or girls or women, and they're expert in working on a computer for a company, but their hobby is making garlands for the deities, or their hobby or their real interest in life is preaching, or their real interest in life is doing sankirtan, or their real interest in life is doing the treasury work for the temple, or their real interest in life is to have more children that can be raised to be Krishna conscious. So we see that there is a vocation and there is a particular activity that is it's not a vocation, but it is a preferred activity of a person in life. So one may be an IT person, but their real interest that consumes their free time is serving Krishna. And there are other people, they have hobbies. So they have a job and they have a hobby. So for devotees, if you're married, you have to work. But in our spare time, what are you going to do? So if we spend our spare time in Krishna consciousness, that means that we have a balanced life as a grihasta, and when our material duties are diminished, then we can add more time to Krishna consciousness. But we should always pray to Krishna that we not fall again to our previous lifestyle of sense gratification. We should always be praying like that. Please, Krishna, protect me so I can always remain in your service. So you don't have to say, please protect me so I don't go back to being a sense gratifier. The positive way of saying that is, please protect me so I can always be engaged in your service, Krishna. That's a positive way of saying the same thing. Okay, so the next verse, text 36 and 37. Because of identifying myself with the body, because of identifying oneself with the body, one is subjected to desires for sense gratification. And thus, one engages in many different types of pious and impious activities or actions. This is what constitutes material bondage. Now I shall disentangle myself from my material bondage, which has been caused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead's illusory energy in the form of a woman or a man. Being a most fallen soul, well, this is the case of Ajamil, who's a man, so he says, which has been caused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead's illusory energy in the form of a woman. Being a most fallen soul, I was victimized by the illusory energy and have become like a dancing dog led around by a woman's hand. Now I shall give up all lusty desires and free myself from this illusion. I shall become a merciful, well-wishing friend to all living entities, always absorb myself in Krishna consciousness. Okay, so these are the type of realizations that one must come to as a devotee. And all of us have certain things that we feel obliged to do and other things that we are attracted to do. So when we are attracted to Krishna consciousness, it balances off those things that we're obliged to do for self-sustenance or self-existence. So we need a minimum amount of food, a minimum amount of water, and a minimal place to stay, right? And then besides that, everything else is not so essential. So in order to get the food, you need some money, unless you can grow it yourself. And in order to have a place to stay, a modest place to stay, you need some money. So that means you have to work. There's nothing wrong with that. But your real interest in life is Krishna consciousness. So every minute that you're not obliged to work or not obliged to sleep, you should use in Krishna's service. So in the purport, Prabhupada says, this should be the standard of determination for all Krishna-conscious persons. A Krishna-conscious person should free himself from the clutches of Maya. And he should also be compassionate to all others suffering in those clutches. The activities of the Krishna conscious movement are meant not only for oneself, but for others also. That's called para upakara, doing good to others. You don't not only do good to yourself. That would be considered by others as somewhat selfish, but you also do good to others, just like we're going to go out now and serve prasadam. So we're not doing that for our own benefit. We're doing that to help others have a taste for prasadam and a taste for Krishna books. This is the perfection of Krishna consciousness. One who is interested in his own salvation is not as advanced in Krishna consciousness as one who feels compassion for others and who therefore propagates the Krishna consciousness movement. Such an advanced devotee will never fall down, for Krishna will give him will give him special protection. So we've read this before, that Krishna personally attends to protecting his devotees. And other people who are not devotees of Krishna, they're under the, let's say, responsibility of the demigods. So if you want Krishna to be personally involved in protecting you, you should become a devotee. Then you'll have no worries. But if you avoid Krishna, then you're under the jurisdiction of the demigods. And demigods, they can be sometimes friendly and sometimes not friendly. And therefore, we should understand, just like if you know there's some gold that was buried in the earth on the north side, you wouldn't go looking for it on the south side. So in the same way, if you want protection, the best protection is Krishna. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything is working under him. So he's the best protector. And therefore, you should go to Krishna instead of going to this person or that person, or this demigod or that demigod. Okay, so then it says, this is the sum and substance of Krishna consciousness movement. That is, such an advanced devotee who is not only concerned about himself, but is concerned about others also. Such an advanced devotee will never fall down, for Krishna will give him special protection. That is the sum and substance of the Krishna consciousness movement. Everyone is like a play toy in the hands of the illusory energy and is acting as she moves him. One should come to Krishna consciousness to release oneself and also to release others. So, this is a very precious instruction by Srila Prabhupada. And that's why our next wisdom that we're going to give in the cookies is para upakar. Always do good to others. Don't just think about yourself. Or as it says here, one who is interested in his own salvation is not as advanced in Krishna consciousness as one who feels compassion for others and who therefore propagates the Krishna consciousness movement. Such an advanced devotee will never fall down, for Krishna will give him special protection. Hari Bol, glories to Srila Prabhupada. And the next verse, verse 38, Ajamil says, simply because I chanted the holy name of the Lord in the association of devotees, my heart is now becoming purified. Therefore, I shall not fall victim again to the false lures of material sense gratification. Now that I have become fixed in the absolute truth, henceforth, I shall not identify myself with the body. I shall give up false conceptions of I and mine and fix my mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. Well, this is called real meditation. Let's see what Prabhupada says. How a living entity becomes a victim of the material condition is lucidly explained in this verse. So lucidly comes from the light word luce, L-U-C-E, which is a Latin word that means light. So lucidly, L-U-C-I-D-L-Y. The beginning is to misidentify the body as one's self. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita begins with the spiritual instruction that one is not the body, but is within the body. So there are two bodies covering the soul. There's the gross body and the subtle body. And they're both coverings of the soul, which means the soul is in deep anxiety all the time because it's ignoring both the gross and the subtle body. Okay, so therefore Bhagavad Gita begins with the spiritual instruction that one is not the body, but is within the body. This consciousness can be possible only if one chants the holy name of Krishna. This is why chanting Hare Krishna mantra is so important. Otherwise, you can never get relief from the illusion that I am this body. So this can be possible only if one chants the holy name of Krishna, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and always keep oneself in the association of devotees. This is the secret of success. So the secret of success is not going to this school or that school or having this teacher or that teacher or reading this book or that book. The secret of success in life is chant Hare Krishna and keep oneself in the association of devotees. It's the secret of success. Okay. Therefore, we stress that one should chant the holy name of the Lord and keep oneself free from the contaminations of this material world. What are the contaminations? Contaminations are meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, and intoxication. If you do any of these things, any one of these things, it'll lead to doing all the others. So don't do any of them. Otherwise, if you say, well, I'll follow 3, but not number 4, okay, but that means that you'll eventually be doing all 4. So if you want to be a pure devotee, only do one thing, and that is glorify Krishna by his name and chant his glories and hear more about Krishna. So it says, with this determination, one should vow to follow these principles and thus be saved from the miserable condition of material existence. The first necessity is to become freed from the bodily concept of life. Excellent. And then the last verse that we're going to read today. Because of a moment's association with devotees, the Vishnudutas, Ajamila detached himself from the material conception of life with determination. Thus freed from all material attraction, he immediately started for Haridwar. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word Mukta Sarvanubandhana indicates that after this incident, where Ajamila actually witnessed the Yamadutas trying to drag him to Yamaraj, and the Vishnudutas stopped them. Then they had this discussion, and then Ajamila felt great relief that the Vishnudutas saved him, and convinced the Yamadutas that Ajamila had purified himself of all these sins that he had committed. And then he considered how fortunate he was to be given a second chance to perfect himself and go back to Godhead. So the Mukta Sarvanubandhana indicates, the word Mukta Sarvanubandhana indicates that after this incident, Ajamila, not caring for his wife and children, went straight to Haridwar for further advancement in his spiritual life. Our Krishna consciousness movement now has centers in Vrindavan and Navadvip, so that those who want to live a retired life, whether they be devotees or not, can go there and with determination give up bodily concept of life. One is welcome to live in those holy places for the rest of his life in order to achieve the highest success by the very simple method of chanting the holy name of the Lord and taking prasada. Thus, one may return home, back to Godhead. We do not have a center in Hardwar, we do now, but Vrindavana and Sridham Mayapur are better for devotees than any other places. Sri Chaitanya Chandrodaya Temple offers one good opportunity to associate with devotees and later all take advantage of this opportunity. Okay, so your homework, based on things that we read today, look up the meaning of the word determination and explain the psychological adjustment you have to make in order to develop this determination to always remain Krishna conscious in this lifetime. Now, if you do that like Narada Muni or Dhruva Maharaj, you will become a very, very exceptional person and successful. So the second part of your homework is explain what is the secret of success. And you should look at this phrase, secret of success, in other Prabhupada books, like such, for example, the Bhagavad Gita. He explains what the secret of success is in several places, 3-4 places. Let me see if I can find one right away. Let's look in the 8th chapter. 8th chapter, verse number 14. Let's see. One second. Secret of success. Interesting. Secret of success. Okay, success. S-U-C-C. S-U-C-C. Okay. So 6th chapter, 24th verse. 6th chapter, 24th verse says, no? Let's see. I thought I had this all written down. Let's see, 624, 347. 3. Well, then, your homework is to find other places where Prabhupada speaks about the secret of success. Okay, it's 6th chapter, 36th verse. It says, for one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion. Okay? So there's one place where Prabhupada says, assured of success. But look up the phrase, secret of success, and note down the different references Prabhupada makes to that. Let's see, 1620. So one is the 6th chapter, 36th verse, and another one, let's see, 16th chapter, 23rd verse. Let's see what he says. 16th chapter, 23rd verse. No. Okay. Anyway, that's your homework. Look up secret of success in other places, especially in the Bhagavad Gita. I'll do the same. I'll chronicle it also. I'll note it down. So your homework, therefore, you have two homeworks for tomorrow. Look up the word determination and explain what it means and what it means in the dictionary, and explain what it means in spiritual life, based on the words of Ajamil himself. And then secondly, Prabhupada mentions the secret of success in verse number 38, Canto 6, Chapter 2, verse 38. Look up other places where he uses this phrase, secret of success, in the Bhagavad Gita and in other books that he's written. And therefore, that's for tomorrow. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? No questions? Any questions? Okay, then we'll end. So I have to go. Intro 32, Bhagavad Gita 250. Oh, wait a minute. I found one. Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, 50th verse. What does it say? It says, oh no, it doesn't say that. Wow. Let me see here. Okay, page 30 in the introduction. Let's see what that says. You found one? You found one? Where? Okay. 16th chapter, 2nd verse. It's in the purport? What? What do you mean 2 to 7? Anyway, look it up. I will do it also. Haribol. All glories to Prabhupada.